Einen schönen guten Morgen nach Österreich. Ich hoffe, es können mich alle hören und sehen soweit. Es freut mich sehr, dass Sie bei unserem heutigen Webinar, wo wir die Trends im chinesischen Bausektor, vor allem im Bereich des ökologischen Bauens beleuchten und einen besonderen Fokus auf Holzkonstruktionen legen. Ich werde mit einer kurzen Einleitung in das Thema starten. Danach wird Herr Liegt, renommierter Architekt und China Project Consultant der niederländischen Firma MVRDV, mehr über Zukunftstrends, Passivhäuser und die Baustoffe der Zukunft erzählen. Und danach übernimmt Herr Zhang Xiaoming, Chief Representative of European Wood in China, der informiert Sie gerne über die Entwicklungen und Trends von Holz als Baumaterial in China. Und Herr Benjamin Zhuang, General Manager von Shanghai SKF Architectural Technology Co. Ltd., hat bereits mehrere Holzkonstruktionsprojekte in China betreut und berichtet heute über seine Erfahrungen aus erster Hand. Wir werden das Webinar auch aufzeichnen. Sollten Sie zwischenzeitlich weg müssen oder es heute nicht schaffen, dann stellen wir Ihnen die Aufzeichnung im Anschluss gerne zur Verfügung. Und wenn Sie Fragen haben, bitte diese einfach in den Chat oder in den Frage kurz eingeben. Gerne beantworten unsere Experten diese im Anschluss an das Webinar. Also wir haben eine kurze Q&A-Session im Anschluss geplant. Da unsere 3 Experten heute ihre Vorträge auf Englisch halten, werde ich nun ebenfalls auf Englisch umswitchen, sodass Sie auch unsere Einleitung verstehen. Und wie gesagt, Sie können uns dann jederzeit gerne kontaktieren, sollten noch Fragen offen sein. Und nun gerne zu ein paar Einleitungsworten zum Green Building Sector. China's green building sector presents many opportunities for foreign companies, given the country's vast real estate market and its ambitious plans to meet high environmental standards and serve climate-conscious goals. In 2020, China made the pledge to peak carbon emissions by 2030 and reach carbon neutrality by 2060. On the other hand, China is steadily moving towards urbanization, and infrastructure construction is indispensable for its economy. According to market statistics, 5.2 billion square meters of new buildings are built each year, consuming 2 billion of cement and 600 million tons of steel annually. Such rapid expansion has driven up emission levels. In 2019, China's construction sector accounted for 45.8% of the total national energy consumption and 50.6% of the total national carbon emissions. Given this scenario, it's not hard to understand why construction and construction materials are increasingly being subject to more stringent environmental rules in China. Against this background, China has made substantial moves to achieve energy saving and energy structure optimization in the construction sector. The green building and green buildings material sector are gradually gaining momentum. The total value of the green building market in China reached $178.1 billion in 2021. China plans to expand the green building market to about 1.3 trillion RMB, which is around $180 billion in 2025, at an annual growth rate of 3%. To cater to China's green and low carbon plan, more than 90% of China's commercial building owners plan to have at least one net or near zero energy building in the next 10 years. Globally, China accounts for 17.2% of the world's green building market. Based on all these numbers, we can see that the Chinese building sector is moving to a more sustainable approach. However, the market is still at a very early stage of development. And since Austria is a leader in sustainable building technologies, ranging from high-quality windows to passive ventilation, biomass heating, solar energy systems, or wooden constructions, this provides ample opportunities for Austrians' exports in the sustainable building market. Today, we will also place a special focus on wooden construction. In China, wood is a scarce material, and over 50% of natural wood is imported. However, wood is known as a very sustainable and regrowing material, and in China, it is especially used for high-end projects or projects in the tourism field to give visitors a natural experience. But our speakers will tell you more about this later. We at the Advantage Austria office in Beijing have a special focus on the green building industry and have recently updated our industry report. So if you're interested in reading this publication, please do not hesitate to reach out to us Also, if you have any further question to the building sector in China, me and my team, we are very happy to help you at any time. And without any further ado, I would be very happy to hand over to our first speaker of this webinar, Mr. Li. As already mentioned, he is an architect and China project consultant for the Dutch company MVRDV. And as already mentioned, if you have any questions in the meanwhile, please feel free to post them in the chat at any time, and we will gonna go through them after our presentations. So Mr. Li, if you are here, we are very much looking forward to your presentation, so you can turn on your audio and your camera.
Okay, hello everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, good morning everyone. Here's a greeting from China. My name is Qi Li, architect, also the chief engineer from International Academicians Science and Technology Innovation Center. Today, I'm very happy to have this opportunity to share the stories about the low carbon approach in China with you. Okay, I'll start this presentation. Oops. Okay, actually this text, this new trends in China has already been addressed just now by the host. Today I'm trying to, as a first speaker, I'm trying to link all of these independent concepts, trying to link them as a whole by same timeline, same storyline, or same logic. So, as is also mentioned just now, that all of these concepts, the behind all of them is the carbon neutrality as a main policy in the long period since now, which means by 2060 that all of the carbon emission will equal to the carbon absorption, which means the net carbon emission will be zero by that time. Before that, we have another milestone which is called the peak carbon emissions, which means before the year 2030 that the yearly national carbon emission can be going up and up, but after that it has to be going lower and lower until zero by the 60. This policy comes from the year 2019. By that time, China already take 28% of the global emissions. So our President Xi Jinping announced that we take this responsibility and we will achieve the carbon neutrality by 2060. By reaching that task, we have to do many things as follows, but the one thing that is quite related to our field as the architecture and urban planning, that is number 4, promoting energy efficiency and conservation. And this one is also the one that I will going to explain in detail. The first thing is in order to do this carbon emission control, we have to apply a green building standard. As we know that the construction takes more than half of the entire carbon emission in global wide. So this one is the first thing that is very important we should do. Actually, till now, almost all of the government-funded building, including all the residential buildings, the public buildings, need to reach at least 2-star standards. And for some of them, they even need to reach 3-star standards. Since the time limit, I will not read all of the things in detail, but if you have interest, I will show you in the Q&A section. The second thing, which is even new, that is, we just published a general code called General Code for Building Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy Utilization. This one just implemented last year from April the 1st. This is even more strict. If we look at the numbers here, that the average energy saving for the residential building has to be more than 75%, while the public building should be at least 72%. Since it's very new, so we as architects, first we need to, of course, try to develop our design skills, but also we are trying to seek more potentials with cooperations with foreign techniques and foreign companies. I got some examples from the green buildings. but I will not read them in detail. I just trying to show you some of the keywords. For example, for this one, as this is a residential building. This project mainly focuses on the technical things. We can see many many keywords that is highlighted in black. And also the second sample, we can see this is office building. For this one, that the designer also take this human-centered design principle, which means more healthy, more comfortable, more energy saving, more environmentally friendly, more smart, etc. And for a third example, as the commercial building, that the energy saving, the sponge city, also the construction waste management was taken into consideration. So this is the first step that we have to control the carbon emission, while the second step is, since we already have the lower carbon emission, then we need to also find an alternative power to take place of this carbon-based energy, which is, the answer is silicon. By saying silicon, that is the photovoltaic technology. First, also, I showed many of these policies. You can see there are many, among which maybe this one is the most important. It's called the number 15th five-year plan for the renewable energy development. This means this document has to be followed within the 5 coming years for all of the country in China. And also, by promoting this policy, the government also prepared a lot of subsidy for it. For example, here, if we look at the number, 2.58 billion yuan will be applied as a reward in this year by the central government. By taking this number of money, we can also take another amount of money from the local government, which is quite good. The photovoltaic techniques can be applied both in curtain walls, as shown in this page, or in the roof, or it can be even applied on the components on the facade or the windows. Okay, by trying to understand the integration of this PV panel into building design, I will introduce this called Solar Decathlon China, this competition to you. Decathlon means 10 races put into together. And for this competition, the 10 goals are architecture, engineering and construction, energy, communication, market potential, indoor environment, renewable heating and cooling, home life, interactive experiences, and energy self-sufficiency. We can see that the target of this competition is more or less the same as the target of the Chinese government for this green building. So that's why this competition is quite popular, and also I would say that it now stands for the highest level of green building technology in China. If we look at the projects that's from the participants, we will immediately see that how this PV panel, how these techniques are very well integrated with the project and into the design. And among which the champion is this one from Tianjin University. It's my university, and I was also the consultant of this project. I'm very proud to say that among the 10 champions, we got 8, while another one with second prize. This is outside, and this page next is inside. I actually have a video here, but since the time limit, if you have interest, I will show this video in the Q&A also. We can see that we have all of the powers from the solar panel on the top of the roof and on the window. But in the meanwhile, we also think about the thermal system. We think about the building assembly embedded with Chinese traditional culture, the human comfort, the Chinese carbon policy, etc. And the third step is, since I already have this new clean power from the PV panel, but this electricity power generated from the silicon, they are DC. instead of AC that is normally used in most of the systems. So we need to have another power conversion to convert the DC into AC system and let them to put together with the national grid. This is also quite influential for our architecture and urban design. The first one is I will want to introduce this system. It's called the PEDF, which means the photovoltaic and energy storage and the direct current and the flexibility with the AC grid. This is a bit complicated to explain, but we just can easily understand it as it's a very efficient system that by applying this, we can hold both DC and AC power together in a building. So by applying this, since we already have this system, we can even think about to embrace more DC power together, which is here what I call the V2X. V is vehicle, and the vehicle can do road, can do building, can do many things. The important thing is if we have, since China already have many of this amount of electricity cars. So if we can take all of the batteries from the cars together, we will have a very big amount of the storage for the building in the future. Okay, I will use one example to show this whole process. This is the image from my design 5 years ago. After I designed this building, of course, it's built. This is the picture after it's built. But after 5 years, this year, my client asked me to update it. My client asked me to do the renovation to introduce more DC system, which are mainly about the photovoltaic panels, but also for this the stations, that is for the V2G to the V2B that I just mentioned. So we can see this system, all of the green part, they are the DC power system, and the red part, which only stands for a very small proportion, that is the conventional AC system. This DC and AC system, the interaction is very flexible, and when the pressure is high, then we can have this DC power to charge back to the city grid even. So it's a very smart system. I also even build them in a metaverse way. And this is a virtual system that I can help the client to control each of these systems separately. So in total, by this one, we can understand it's more or less already approaching to the smart city, let's say. And this one is not of course, innovated by me myself. It has actually have a guideline of this power conversing, which is called 4 networks and the 4 flows theory. This one's from my teacher, academician C.C. Chen. I will introduce him a bit later. But by watching this concept image, we can see that if we really can put the city energy, the information, transportation, and with humanities together, we will imagine that our city in the future will have a big variety of the power supply, as well as the big a very smart way to control for example, the embedded with the metaverse, etc., will become a prototype of the smart city, step by step. Okay, he is my teacher, the academician C.C. Chen that I just mentioned. He's academician of 5 countries. Also, he is known as father of the Asian electric vehicles. Now he holds a very significant influence in the enterprises and projects related to the new energy and smart cities in China. He also established the platform called the International Academicians Science and Technologies Innovation Center. That is the place where I'm from. We already have 7 centers now, but hopefully this year in summer, we will have 4 more centers, including the center of Australia. We will see. And this page is for myself. I'm the architect. I did some of the build projects such as Judo Hall from the Asian Olympic Games in Hangzhou in this year. I also built a Binghai Library, Tianjin Binghai Library, which is now known as maybe one of the most beautiful libraries in China. I also built a pavilion for Boao Asian Forum. Since a couple of years ago, I am also very interested with this green building and the design that can be integrated with more technologies and more low carbon techniques together. So as a summary, I will go back to the starting point, which is first we need to have this. We first announced this carbon neutrality policy. The first thing is we have to do this emission reducing by applying the green building standard. The second thing is we need to find a new energy to be alternative by the carbon-based power, which is we found the PV panels, and we have many policies, subsidies for it. The third thing is we also developed our power system, which is called the power conversing. Also, this one even will be put together with what we call the intelligent connected vehicles system together. And in the end, if we put all of this smartness together and also integrated these things into with the design, and then we will hopefully get bright future with smart city. So this is an evolution towards the transformation of carbon-based energy system, but also it can be a revolution for the development of Chinese architecture and urban planning. That's my speech. Thanks for all.
Thank you very much for this overview and introducing the smart cities here. And without losing any further time, I would like to hand over to Mr. Zhang Shao.
Good morning, friends. This is Xiaoming from European Wood in China. So today I will introduce some general information about development of wood construction in China. European wood, we have been in China for many years. 2005, I've not talked about in detail, that you can see clearly our basic structure and business scope and our partner. Actually, that we are an important platform for European wood industry in China. We are providing service for all companies who are interested in the China market. And now our focus are the codes and standards. That's the most important factor to enter into the China market, and also that we come to the stage to promote European engineering wood product and building system with glulam, CLT, and LVL, prefabrication, and or multi-story, high-rise, etc. Clearly that you will see that Austria is on the list, and also we have some important members from Austrian wood industry. I will, as I just mentioned, then code and standards are the key to enter the China market. So since 2005, we started the cooperation with the Chinese central ministries and the professional committees to make new standards or improve the old Chinese codes and standards to introduce modern concept of European, regulatory system into China, where you can see that so far China has made about 191, as I calculated, codes and standards and concerning products, wood products, standards of testing methods for products or structures, elements, and standards of design and acceptance. European wood, we have been involved in more than 20, and those, of course, are the very important ones. Since 2005, and European main species like spruce, pine, larch, and fir were accepted in the Chinese COSA standards. Fire, we call it a bottleneck for the application and quick development of wood construction in China. So, since 2005, we start cooperation with China Fire Authorities, plus China Fire Research Institute, to make and improve the existing China Fire Code we call GB 16. That's the most important fire code to regulate and control the application of wood product and wood construction in China. As you can see that it's from the beginning, it was only allowed 3-story, that like the timber villa, or mainly made of timber frame from North America, 3-story, and now in the new amendment for the fire code, it is allowed to 8-story. Of course, that will be applied with engineering wood, so we call heavy timber structure. So that means most probably from this year, 8-story timber structure will be built up in China. And of course, China, they are improving their fire concept, that from the traditional way to the performance-based, the modern approach. This is one page, very important page from the new amendment of the fire code. Hopefully this new amendment will be approved and issued this year. So you can see from this page that from 3-story to 8-story for type 1, that means that heavy timber structure with engineering wood, with glulam, with CLT or LVL. For second type, that's the timber frame, of course. And then you can see the height, 32, that also progress compared to 10 years or even 20 years ago. So from this table, you can see that engineering wood like glulam, CLT has a very, very big market and application scope for different types of buildings in China. And also that European wood, we are coordinating with the Chinese government. This what we have made for the Chinese Ministry of Construction, that based on European CLT technical handbook and the European LVL handbook. They are already published and we are promoting this. We hope with this such specification and the promotion that the industry, the market will accept new product and new technology with CLT and LVL. Some basic facts for the wood construction in China, that I will not read all these figures. It's just roughly that timber structure, or it include pure timber structure or hybrid or partially applied wood product or elements on different types of buildings. It's about 45 million square meters that are existing. And you can see from 2000 until 2021 that every year, in most year, it is on the rise trend. Of course, that from 2019, it will be a decline because the villa was not allowed by the government, that because of many reasons. So that year, the figure declined. And then 2020, because of the COVID, the virus problem, and the figure decreased. And then from 2 years ago, it recovered. I hope that 2022, the figure will be even bigger. So we just expect, if talk about annual new construction is 2 billion square meters, if the wood construction takes up only 1%, and then it will be 20 million, if more, and then the figure will be bigger. And the diagram just reflects what I just mentioned, that the wood construction takes a certain percent of the total building volume. Something about, let's say, the glulam, the engineering wood. You can see that some species that had been mainly used for the production of glulam industry in China. The dominating species, of course, that come from Russia and North America. Of course, you can see that spruce and pine from Europe on the rise. So it is increasing rapidly. And 2018, 2021, the production of glulam in China, that mainly annual production volume 200,000 and 300,000, some figures between that. It's not big. Manufacturing facilities for glulam industry. So before the year 2000, only less than 20 producers for glulam products. Actually, that less than 10 producers for all kinds of, components and elements for wood construction. But now we roughly calculated more than 800 producers are engaged in wood construction. So talk about glulam. Now we have more than 300 producers, of course, including structural and non-structural products. We have more than 100 production line, and the design capacity 0.7 million. But actually, production capacity only, let's say, 200,000 per year. If your company produce 10,000 cubic meters per year, and you will be among the top 10 companies in China. So from that, all the Chinese producers, they are not big. They are very small compared to those in Europe. And CLT, they only have 4 producers. And LVL is mainly for furniture, not for structure yet. And you can see that the trade and every country has decreased the export to China. Of course, that because of the COVID and virus problem, of course, you can see that the Northern Europe, they increased last year. North American decreased a large percentage. Products that's from traditional to modern, that's the trend, from 3-story to large span. I guess that the next speaker will talk about the big products finished in China with some material from Austrian companies, office building at Expo, and for the Olympic as well. And these diagrams, you can see that the percentage of different type of constructions, it's mainly in China market, mainly, let's say, residential, office, and for tourism and holidays. So all these 5 years, it remained the same percentage, not too much change. So the problem and challenge in China, that the market is very big, but the wood construction is very small because of many reasons. Because the cost, competitive, and the policy from the government to encourage, to support, and also land policy, and also the China industry trend that is unbalanced. That many producers and manufacturers, they are using the manual work even for the gluing and the drilling. So logistic transportation not mature, and also lack of knowledge, lack of professional, and also that the research from the universities, they cannot be transformed into the market and to make profits and as a new products and new technology. And also that the government and industry, they're still wondering and hesitating how to use the local material and also how to balance the too large percent of imported timber from many countries. Of course, that there are a lot of opportunities for European industry, and the market is growing from small to bigger and bigger. And China has a very big COSA standards, this we call regulation system service for wood construction, and also that the carbon-driven approaches from the government. That means wood construction is obviously a green solution, has a lot of advantages. And also that with recommendation for architects and professionals for the European species, products, and the technology, and government and also the industry, they have known that the European, you can supply higher quality material, higher quality solutions for the market. And several big European products finished in China that create a good brand name, an image for the European material and the technology. And of course, that from the government, from the industry, from professionals, there are more and more interest in cooperating with European side compared to other regions now. So I just say that for Europe, this market is a potential and a promising market for the European industry. What we should do is to do more and make more efforts. Thank you.
Thank you very much for providing us a good overview of the wood and timber market here in China. And now we will have a look more onto projects. And therefore, I would like to hand over to Mr. Benjamin Zhuang. He will talk about some projects he worked on. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for your time to listening my experience about the wood application in China. And we have been working with this type of landmark projects for over 10 years. And now, as you can see, the first projects I'm showing here, we've done it we have done it almost like 10 years ago. And we basically, I personally have been working with Canada wood for over 8 years. And then I started to practice the wood buildings in China. And of course, my major technical partners is still based in Vancouver. And this is the first project we have done in Qingdao, in one of the coast cities in China, like before. That's for our developers. Visitor center, actually, it's a sales office. Most of the early stage of the wood structure in China, that's for developers sales office. And fortunately, we got very top actually resources in the world, not only on the design side, but also the construction as well as material. So we got this 2014, we got this ENR Global Best Project. And after that, we let me see if the page goes on. Just a minute. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I have a problem too.
You have to click into the presentation.
Yeah, I'm already clicking that, and yeah, that's the second project. Oh, sorry, I have to go back a little bit. It's a little bit, yeah. And back to 2018, we starting to working with one of the famous Austrian architects, the Luger Meso, the DMA, on this Taiyuan Botanical Garden project. And for this project, all the customized Greenland members are from Austria and Germany. And this project also have a big success, and with lots of awards from all around the world. And it's not only the structural awards, but also some architecture awards. And the next page goes to the newest project, which we finished almost like 1.5 years ago. And this one, all the customized, the CNC Greenland member also coming from Austria. And it's a big volume, and 7,500 cubic meters with all the train shipping from Europe directly to the site, to the Chengdu city in the southwest of the China, and it's a big volume of the containers. And let me have a brief introduction about our model, how we make those projects happening. We have a team. The team, first of all, the SCB Structural Craft, that's a very famous EPC company based in Vancouver, and we also have an office in Shanghai, that's SKF, my company. With my partners, we working together to make all those projects happening. And the SCB guys, they are very good engineers, and they have very experienced carpenters, and they send over their team to China. And then we also buying all those wood from Europe and ship to China. The next page we goes to the EPC model. Our business model is simple and clear. We normally starting to working with architects, both overseas architects and Chinese local architects. And we're starting from the concept design to telling them the wood is a good the wood is a good solution. And we're also doing the value engineering and SD package for the architects. And based on that, when the customer, especially the owner, confirmed their actually solution, our solution, then we're starting the 3D models and the CD package. With all those approval, we starting the shop drawings with and as well as the material procurement. With finally we assembling all the members on the site. Talking about the engineering, we definitely found the Chinese architects and the local DI, we call LDI, and they kind of lack of lots of experience of the wood design, that's for sure. And then we need to have this overseas support from Vancouver or from the other side of the world to help them to do all those design. And based on that, some of the special buildings, like the picture I showed on the right, we also need to do testing to prove the wood capacity and like some of the connection capacity, and also the all the shop drawings and even the container loading plans. We have to using very experienced overseas resources to do that, to make the whole process efficient and to get everyone, had a good experience about the wood structure. Also, talking about procurement, we had a very good experience working with Haslacker in Austria, and they are very professional. They have a very strong tech team who could connect it with our team in Vancouver and also our Rhino model guys in London. And we also have the CNC data files sending directly to them, and they made very good quality the products. And with our shipping plan, we work with them together, and they have also it was a pretty big local news, like the first time, as you can see, the Chinese railway containers getting to their plant, and they ship out all those CNC, actually the Gulen members. So we also procure, we also buying all those like metal connectors, like the screws from Italy, from Austria, from Germany, and with all those packaged together, so we ship that to China. So for the construction, we because we are not only focused on the small type of the buildings, all those projects you can see, as well as our other projects, they are big projects. Normally they are public buildings, 1 story, but huge size or tall buildings for using Gulen. So we working closely with the guys sending from either German or from Vancouver to working together on the site, talk with the European architects or the North American architects directly. Then we actually also doing a lot of construction simulations before we really install all those components. And then we have a good, actually, it's very smooth process, because the wood structure is a very typical assembling process, which is very keen topic, hot topic in China right now about the assembling building industries. So I'm gonna give you a very brief introduction about the the projects we have been talking about here. This one we call that Tianfu Agriculture Expo, which is composed of 5 vaults, and each of vaults is huge size, and it's already over the Chinese code. And this 5 vaults, they have a pretty big actually arcs, and the maximum one is over 118 meters, and it's becoming one of the biggest wood structure in the world. And before we do this project, we do almost like 2 years planning, and we also ask inquiry the Gulen solutions from a couple of Austrian Gulen manufacturers, and before we really put down the order. And this projects, but for this 7,500 cubic meters, we only used 8 months to assembling all of them, and it's a very impressive actually process for everyone, for owners and for the local government. Also, the biggest issue we faced before that fire issues, we did a special fire engineering process and get the approval eventually. And for this big size of the structure, initially they have been talking about, normally this type of project is going to happen in China as a steel structure, but as a green building policy and also the carbon saving material, that kind of topic is becoming very popular now. And this project, eventually the government compare the cost, compare the the timing schedule, and then they decided they're going to using the wood. And this, I didn't see the characters, but it's okay. But you see the DMAA, and this one is the 3 dooms happening in Taiwan, and it's a botanical garden, the first time wood application in China for this type of the greenhouse, the botanical greenhouse, to keep it. It's one of the pro is they have this consistent moisture and a consistent temperature, and with some of the, the biggest doom is like almost like 96 meters span, and the tallest one is 26 span. And now this one is becoming a landmark in the city and developed by the DMAA and the architect based in Vienna. And we visited them many times, and also they showed very good actually ideas about how they're gonna the first time using the almost like the pure wood to get the built. And this is also every component. It's not big volume. It's almost like 2,000 cubic meters of the customized glulam, and we ship that by the ocean, by the vessel, and ship to one of the ports in the north of China. Taiwan is pretty close to Beijing in the north of the China, and then we're using the trucks to ship every components to the site and assembling them into individual panels and put them together as a dooms. So this is a process when we doing this small doom, the smallest doom, and you can see all the glulam members are protected. We wrap it up before we lifting it up. And this is in one of the factory. I mean, before the picture shows the final products, CNC, how it looks like. And for, we the one of the biggest advantage we using the glulam is we trust the CNC capacity in both Germany and Austria. It could be very accurate. And when we install that, we normally do not have big problems to have like some of the, the dimension problem. We never have that. So that's very close to the end of the construction, and you can see the size, the member size, and also the cables, who is providing the whole structure more stability for this project. And this is the first time we're using the glulam products from Austria. That's back in 2018. We had a project in the very south of the China, which is an island called Hainan Island. And this curved glulam members are all shipped from Austria, and it's basically about 800 cubic meters, and with all also customized. And they have different variations of the section members, and they have different lengths, and we basically put them together. We're using a factory on the site, and then we put all those members, different curve members together on the site, and using the screws, and the different kind of the connections. Then we're lifting it up in the air and put that on the, ship that by the big truck on the site for the whole piece of the members. And then we basically install that on the steel columns. Yeah, so what I'm talking now is about 3 case studies, but what we have been learning is like, how are we gonna turning the woods into a real building in China? We're normally gonna facing a lot of challenge, like the speakers, just talked about we having code issues, and now we definitely have the official codes published, and also the owner's concern normally is coming from, first of all, definitely going to be the cost, and in some very good high quality buildings, the cost of the wood is more competitive than the steel, because for the steel or the concrete, they still have to apply a lot of like interior decoration to make it looks nice. But the nature of the wood is we don't need that step. And also the besides the cost of the wood, the cost of the building, the owner also worrying, especially the government officials worry about fire safety issues. So that's one of the major issues we have to working with. And also the maintenance, that's going to be another issue. So it's not like technically we have the best solutions. I mean, the architecture ideas, we have very good actually EPC capacity, but also our role in China is more to talk with all those like the, different government officials, developers, local DIs, and even the general contractors to solve the problem they have. And now, normally they have a lot of questions, and each of the small questions basically could cut the whole project. That's also happening. So we do a lot of communication job, basically technical communication, but on the business wide, the building industry in every country is always a funny industry. You also need to deal with that to make all those projects happening. That's basically our achievements in the last 10 years. In the next 10 years, like we just discussed, we are targeting to have some mid to high-rise buildings. We hope we can make it happen in China. Even we publish the code right now, which allows the tall wood buildings in China, but frankly speaking, we didn't realize that yet. So there is a lot of work. I hope we have the opportunities to working with, the industries in Austria and to make, those things happening, becoming the landmark of each city. Then hopefully we can get a lot of people, copy this type of the projects. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Quite impressive projects that you worked on here, and thanks for presenting them to us. And now with that, I would like to ask all our speakers back on our virtual stage again to go through the questions that we received throughout the webinar. We're almost already running a bit out of time. The first one I can already start to answer. Yes, the presentations will be shared afterwards. We will send you a brief email with a link of the recording and as well with the presentations of today. And as mentioned, we also write an industry report about the green building sector in China, which was recently updated. So if you're interested in this one, please just shoot us an email and we'll be happy to share that one with you as well. So I would kindly ask our speakers to turn on their cameras again and their microphones to see if they are still with us. Perfect. I see them coming back on our virtual stage. And maybe the first question to Mr. Lee, it's about hydrogen. Okay, let me just read it out quickly to you. I think that small-scale hydrogen system integration can help a lot when it comes also to seasonal balance. Did you consider electrolyzer integration? Do you have an input on that question?
I'm sorry, the signal is not very good. You mean the
and hydrogen system integration, electrolyzer integration,
electrolyzer degradation,
integration.
Okay. Okay, the question is want to know more about the integration, about the electricity things embedded with design or something.
I have to say I'm not an expert on that. Oh, I can share the question with you. Let me see. I think it's more about the energy usage, and it was used. I will share with you later, and I think because we're running out of time, maybe we can answer that question afterwards, after our webinar in written, then it might be easier. Rather than that, I would like to address one question to Xiaoming Zhang about the wood. Will China think about overtaking Austrian forest wood usage and protection traditions?
What do you mean that protection tradition?
Yes. As far as I know, the natural wood here is the natural forests here are protected in China, as far as I know, and then they usually use just the planted wood from.
Yes.
We would say in German. That is used. The natural ones are actually all protected. They are not allowed to be cut out, right?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. For China, that in the current Chinese standards and codes, only 2 Chinese species are included. That is Chinese fir and the Chinese larch. Unfortunately, Chinese larch are protected, not for commercial cutting and use. So only Chinese fir can be applied and allowed for wood construction. But the strengths of the Chinese fir are relatively lower compared to European species. That means they have to import the high quality species and material from other countries, including Europe, for modern wood construction. Of course, in some countryside, like an ethnic region, they normally build up a very 1-story, 2-story. I mean, for those farmers and the countrymen, and even the tourist products, those things they can use the local. But for others, they cannot use the local species. They have to use resources from other countries. That will last at least for another 20 or 30 years. Planted trees and species in China are not suitable for modern wood construction. Large span, high rise is not suitable for time being.
Thank you very much for that input. And I would just go on to Mr. Benjamin Truong again, since you've talked a lot about the projects and you also mentioned the procurement, but how can Austrian companies, if they're interested, like incorporating, would you reach out to them? How could they get involved in those projects?
Actually, if you look at the building industry value chains, we have lots of, like a couple of cases I just shared. We normally, the biggest success for the Taiwan Botanical Garden, we are starting from the architects level. The DMA approached us, and they really want to have they proposed this architectural concept in China in wood, and they find I think we are the good candidates, so they find us, and we can working with them together to get to convince the owners and also the all those like local resources. So because it's not a simple selling process, it's not selling the cookies or something in China. I mean, especially for the buildings, we call that building components, not raw materials. So we're working with a different level, and now we have another cases going on. The owner, they approached Austrian company in Vienna, and then the Austrian company introduced us as we do the coordinations before the project really takes off. I mean, on the design side, on the material side, and also the construction cost side, we do a lot of work for the owners. So and it's the traditional way is like simply we buy the material from Austria, but in China, the wood structure is such a, I could say that's a very rare opportunities. We better to protect the owner or the architect's interest very carefully, and then working together to get those projects realized in China.
Okay, yeah, it's very interesting. So would you say a network is very important also to get started in the Chinese market? Because we know with the building sector, usually you need to be very well connected with local governments, or is this true if someone wants to realize a full project rather than being a supplier to an existing one?
Yeah, so which means you need to have for us, we have a pretty long years experience to working with the government and also the local developers and some private owners. And also we have knowledge about the wood, and we know the building code very well here. And we know how to avoid all the troubles or some of the hurdles you're never gonna go over if you go straight to do a pure wood structure. That's very difficult, and sometimes hybrid structure and a little bit like steel wood hybrid structure or the wood concrete structure could still make the beautiful buildings happening. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. And then I think since we're already a bit over the time, I have one last question for Mr. Lee. You mentioned, of course, the ambitious goals of China that they want to get carbon neutral by 2060. And I think it was just this week in the news that they're again investing more into coal power plants. But you also mentioned that, of course, solar panels, photovoltaic panels are used. Can you see there a lot more usage now? Because I remember in Austria, I think almost every house now has a solar panel or photovoltaic panel on their roof, but in China it's more common to live in apartment buildings. So how is it incorporated there? What is the trend there to actually make the move to a more sustainable energy power usage here?
Okay. As you already see that the policy now is going very rapid, in a very, very rapid way. From my PPT, you can see that even within 1 year or 2 years, that there are more than 20, 30 documents of the new policies. So also each of the policies are being put together with the policy of the subsidies, which means if you really follow the policy and if you really do it, even if, let's say, in an ordinary way, it's not, let's say, financially benefit, but with the subsidy, it's okay. Even you can win an extra lot of money. So I think this is a promotion that Chinese government do, and if you really follow the very latest trends of China, you will see that the application of these new PV panels, they are growing very rapidly in a very fast way. Yeah, I hope in the years, a couple of years later, when we go back to talk this question again, then answer will be different.
Yes, I mean, that's good to hear. At least it's going in the right direction. I know that energy, because there were some shortcuts in the last year, so I think it's always more about security goes over sustainability still. But I mean, we see that there are first steps in the right direction. And I think with this, I also want to conclude our webinar for today. We see that there is some opportunities definitely in the field of green building in China. As we mentioned in the beginning, the market is still, as we would say in its Kinderschuhen in German, it's still at the beginning and developing. So it will, of course, take some time, but the government has seen the potential and that it's really necessary to move to a more sustainable approach in that field. And so we're also happy to organize a couple of more events in the field of the green building sector in this upcoming year, which we, of course, would like to keep you updated. And for today's webinar, I would like to thank all of our 3 experts very much for sharing their expertise with us today. It was very insightful, and if any questions remained unanswered today, please also send us an email. We are happy to reach out to you anytime. And thanks everyone for joining us. I wish everyone in Austria a nice day ahead, and we will share with you the presentations and the recording. Thanks for joining us today.